The technology I want to tell you about today is known in Silicon Valley and Manhattan as TaaS, and if you've never heard of it, you soon will. TaaS stands for Transportation as a Service, and while it might not sound like a very high-tech name, it's possible only because of the convergence of dozens of new, incredible technologies, including two big new technologies in particular. It's also 100% guaranteed to completely transform our daily lives. Just for starters, it will dramatically change the value of homes and real estate all over the country. It will put an estimated $5,600 back into the hands of 93% of U.S. families every year. It will dramatically change the value of your car. For most people, this is a big deal because cars are most people's second biggest purchases after housing. TaaS will result in the collapse of oil prices. It will radically change the tax structure of almost every city and small town in America. That's because estimates show that Chicago, for example, will lose at least $250 million in revenue because of TaaS. Los Angeles will lose more than $140 million. New York will lose $500 million every single year. TaaS will also radically change the insurance industry and the healthcare industry, saving millions of lives. In fact, at the end of the day, TaaS might be the biggest medical innovation in decades, even though it has nothing to do with pills or new equipment. And it's already starting to make some people a lot of money. Despite the coronavirus, one company in this space recently soared 104% in a single day. Another firm has soared 260% since the start of this year. And a third business based in Ohio has shot up more than 500% in the past month and a half. But what is TaaS exactly, and why is it going to so radically alter life as we know it here in America and around the globe? Let me explain. One of the two critical technologies hitting a tipping point right now is the electric vehicle. Now maybe you think EVs are not a new technology in the typical sense, and in a way you're right. But what's radically changed is how the key technology to making EVs work, batteries, have improved at an incredible rate in recent years. Battery storage used to cost about $1,000 per kilowatt hour back in 2010. Today it's more like $200 per kilowatt hour, and soon it will be less than $100 per kilowatt hour. This is a huge deal because it means electric cars can go now up to nearly 400 miles on a single charge, and soon we'll be able to go up to 600 miles on one charge. And because battery technology is not only getting better, but also a lot cheaper, the crossover point, when electric vehicles are actually cheaper to purchase than their gas-powered equivalent, is projected to start in just 2022. In fact, every year Bloomberg has to update its model for the crossover point. Look at how they keep changing their projections as the cost of electric vehicles keeps plummeting. In 2007, they estimated 2026, 9 years later. In 2018, it was 2024, only 6 years later. In 2019, it was 2022, 3 years later. Now look, I know many people do not believe electric vehicles will soon make gas-powered ones obsolete. But I assure you, with 100% certainty, this is happening, and for one simple reason: economics. The truth is, gas-powered vehicles no longer make economic sense. Tony Seba, a Stanford economist who's done more work in this field than anyone else I know of, has proven that electric vehicles are about to be 90% cheaper to operate than gas-powered cars. And throughout history, whenever a new technology brings about a 90% price reduction, it wins every single time. Just look at the facts. Consumer Reports estimates it costs about $15,000 to fill up a Jeep Liberty over 5 years if you drive 12,000 miles per year. An electric Jeep Liberty would cost less than $1,600 to fuel over the same period of time, according to Seba. Think about that. It costs 10 times more money to operate a gas vehicle compared to an electric one. And fuel savings are just the beginning. Where you really see massive savings is with service and maintenance. The drivetrain of a conventional car has as many as 2,000 moving parts versus as few as 20 in an electric car. Electric cars and trucks have motors, not engines, so they don't need to shift gears. And they don't need oil, spark plugs, air filters, coolant, or transmission fluid. There's essentially zero maintenance besides rotating the tires. And get this, while a conventional car typically lasts 150,000 miles, or perhaps 200,000 miles if you really push it, Electric car motors can last 500,000 miles, perhaps even 1,000,000 miles or more. This is why some electric car makers warranty the drive unit for up to 8 years and unlimited miles. No gas-powered car will ever come with a warranty like that. Think about it this way. If you have the choice to get essentially the same car, but one is cheaper to buy, costs 90% less to maintain and use on a daily basis, and lasts up to 5 times longer, which car will you buy? In just a few years, no one in his right mind is going to buy a new gas-powered vehicle. What so many people are missing right now is that this shift to EVs isn't about the environment or going green. Again, it's all about economics. This is one of the big reasons why the Model 3 Tesla was by far the best-selling small to mid-sized luxury car sold in America last year. Look at this chart. If you don't believe electric cars will almost completely displace gas-powered vehicles, well, I respect your opinion, but I promise you, you are 100% dead wrong. Did you watch the Super Bowl this year? Every automaker is touting their shift to EVs. Audi advertised its newest electric vehicle coming out this summer. Porsche ran its first Super Bowl commercial in 23 years, touting its electric sports car, the Taycan. Even Hummer, a brand most people remember as a gas guzzler left for dead, advertised its new all-electric vehicle. This is the future of cars and trucks in America, and it's all about economics. Of course, I haven't even mentioned how many ways electric vehicles are more fun to drive too. Because they have no transmission, power goes straight to the wheels, which means electric cars can go from 0 to 60 miles per hour a lot faster than all but the most expensive gas-powered vehicles. Did you see the specs of the new electric Hummer advertised on the Super Bowl, for example? It will tout a ridiculous 1,000 horsepower and 1,500 pound-feet of torque, more than twice the amount of a standard Ford F-150. Plus, it will go from 0 to 60 in 3 seconds. None of that is possible with a regular gas engine. This is why, in the US alone, research from EV adoption suggests that EV sales will jump nearly 700% from 2019 to 2028. The look from a global perspective over the next decade is even more impressive. And yes, this is partly why Tesla stock has soared more than 300% in less than a year. More and more analysts and investors are starting to get the big picture. This is a big trend you want to learn how to get in on right now. Mark my words, in 5 years, electric vehicles will account for more than half and perhaps much more of all new cars sold in the United States. Electric vehicles are simply a superior technology with rapidly declining prices. And today they are even being subsidized with government incentives. Plus, they're environmentally friendly to boot and quiet too. This is why, as CNN recently reported, established car makers around the world are ripping up their business models in the hope of adapting to a new world in which electricity replaces gasoline and diesel. Even companies that aren't typically in the car business are now producing electric cars. For example, leading electronics maker Sony just unveiled a prototype of a beautiful electric car at the Consumer Electronics Show I recently attended. Apple is also rumored to be working on the Apple Car, which could debut in the next 2 years. And get this, in China there are 400 different companies working on electric cars, in large part because almost every Asian nation, including not only China, but also India, Japan, South Korea, and Taiwan, is planning to soon ban the sales of new gas-powered and diesel-powered vehicles. It's all going to be electric, here in America and everywhere around the world. And we've clearly hit a tipping point. Sales of electric vehicles have been growing around 60% per year since 2014, which means the number of electric vehicles on the road is doubling roughly every 14 months around the world. In 2018, electric vehicles went up 85% in a single year in the US. This is how disruptive technologies get adopted. At first, it seems like a slow trickle. Just the early adopters are in on it. But then the technology hits a tipping point and the masses pile in. Again, this is all happening for one simple reason: economics. And it's already making investors rich. TVS Motor Company, a maker of electric vehicles, is up almost 1,300% since 2013. Electra Green Tech, which makes EV power transmissions, is up 310% since March 2016. NXP, which makes semiconductors for EV, is up 400% since April 2013. SQM, a producer of lithium for batteries, is up 165% since July 2015. And in recent months, despite the coronavirus, an investing frenzy in this space has begun. Electric truck maker Nikola recently soared 104% in a single day. Spartan Energy shot up 71% in 2 days. Visteon, a Ford spinout that makes cockpit electronics, is up almost 80% in 3 months. And of course, Tesla, America's leading electric car maker, is up 260% since the start of this year. The electric delivery van firm Workhorse is up more than 500% in less than 2 months. So that's the first part of TaaS. Electric vehicles are quickly displacing gas-powered cars and trucks. But remember, that's only half the story. The other part is even bigger.